if that's the case, are the Browns going to take Sanders?
You know, it was the consensus, like, leaving Indy, that Cam Ward was the number 1 overall pick. Whether it's Tennessee and they decide to stay there, whether they trade that pick for a bounty for the New York Giants to pop up just 2 spots to come in. I don't know what happened. When I went to Indy, I thought these quarterbacks were pretty neck and neck. I thought Ward, Sanders, you could make an argument for either of them. Neither of them participated in any of the drills on the field, but the word was that through meetings and through the measurements and physicals and everything that goes down in Indy, even for the guys that don't throw, Cam Ward is expected to be the number 1 overall pick to either the Tennessee Titans or New York Giants. And Bruce, that leads me to believe that SHEDEUR Sanders is going to be the next quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. That's really was kind of in the back of my head when I arrived in Indy. When I left, I'm pretty confident.
Yeah. Well, I'm not convinced that either one of them are going to be franchise championship type quarterbacks. I could be wrong on that. Who thought Brady out of Michigan would be? Even Mahomes. Nobody thought Mahomes would rise to this spectacular level in the National Football League, so we all could be wrong about that. Isn't there a size concern with Sanders like we had with Mayfield?
When you looked even at their, availability and when they walk up to the podium, him and Cam Ward both look a little smaller, especially because all in that same day you had Jackson Dart, the quarterback from Ole Miss, Will Howard, who Ohio State fans became very.
I heard he had a horrible combine.
And he did not look good in the drills at all, but just physically imposing in stature, you could tell that he has the look of an NFL quarterback, whereas Sanders and Ward are smaller. The one thing that I really rest my Sanders take on is that I thought it was very interesting that both Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, who are known to deliver the company lines, said, hey, we need our next quarterback to be a good decision maker. That's the primary trait and attribute that they're looking for in their next quarterback. You look at what Cam Ward and SHEDEUR Sanders were able to do in college. While Cam Ward has the bigger ceiling, probably the better athlete, SHEDEUR Sanders, and he has his pitfalls, holds on to the ball for a long time. Andrew Berry dismissed that. He said in the current NFL, it's easier to find protection for guys, and you could have somebody that holds onto it for a smidge longer. It's the decision-making. Sanders didn't throw a lot of interceptions at Jackson State or Colorado. And when I was reading between the lines of everything that the Browns said all week long at the Combine, it just led me to believe that, man, they're going to do it. They're going to be the team that takes SHEDEUR Sanders, and they're going to do it with the number 2 overall pick.
Any concern about baggage with the old man?
I don't think so, Bruce. I really think, and I don't know how this happened, I really think the Browns have sold themselves to Sanders, that's SHEDEUR and Dion, quite nicely. I mean, we see these social media videos that his brother is taking and posting on their family vlog where SHEDEUR is saying the only team that I use in Madden is the Cleveland Browns. He's walking around downtown Indianapolis with a Cleveland Browns snapback attached to his book bag. I really think somehow, hell or high water, they sold the Sanders family on Cleveland. And some of the people that I talked to from the Colorado contingent, which, trust me, believe, between SHEDEUR Sanders and Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn and all the Colorado players that are going to get drafted, there were a ton of media from Boulder. Inside word is that SHEDEUR thinks that he's going to become a Cleveland Brown this April.
Right. The mock drafts are all over the place, so we can't go by them. But, I mean, I would prefer taking the best athlete in this draft, which is Hunter. And then, dare I say, take next season so we can get Manning from Texas when he's really going to be ready for the NFL. Again, I could be way out there in left field. Bruce, I don't know.
I'll tell you this. The biggest surprise, really, of maybe all the availability, Hunter is there as a defensive back.
I know at the Combine he had to choose one or the other. He's defense, yeah.
And Andrew Berry comes out and says, well, we view him primarily as a receiver.
Right.
Everybody's heads were like, whoa.
Right.
And Berry lauded at the fact that offensively or defensively, he can score anytime the ball hits his hands, and you have more of a chance to score when you're a receiver offensively.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Berry
and
would
talk
salivate.
about Milroe.
Yeah, there was a little bit, and it was impossible to ignore, especially because Tommy Rees, Cleveland Browns' new offensive coordinator, was a part of all of the meetings with all of the offensive prospects that the Cleveland Browns are considering. And he comes from that Alabama pipeline.
Right.
That was his, play. That was Jalen Milroe's first play caller during his collegiate career was Tommy Rees. So it's hard to ignore. I think the one thing with Milroe though is, it's a project. I mean, are you going to really burn the 33rd pick in the NFL draft, which is practically still a first-round pick, on Jalen Milroe, and then you're banking on this staff to develop
Especially you can get a Riley Leonard or a Howard later on in the rounds. Yeah, that's a good point.